Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with my 2017 review for BioShock 1. Now the point of these current year reviews of older games is to allow me to go back and play ones I miss or test out games that have been heralded for many years as some of the best in the industry and see just how well they've aged without neglecting my content. So this August it'll have been a decade since the original BioShock had first released, and I recently went for the Platinum Trophy because of how much I love this franchise, and that involved 2 consecutive playthroughs of the title. Now I wanted to sit down with you guys and tell you just how well this game has aged. It starts off with the phenomenal writing immediately on display here, and it still kills it so many years later. I am fully convinced this will be one of the most timeless video game stories ever told. It's full of infamous lines that really leave you thinking at the end of the game and afterwards, such as "Would you kindly," "A man chooses, a slave obeys," a lot of those Andrew Ryan quotes that we've gotten to know over the years. What I didn't realize about the writing that really shocked me this time around was that it enables the game to be somewhat what you would call linear nowadays because of a certain plot twist I won't ruin for those who have yet to play, but upon my 6th total playthrough of this game, it was actually mind-blowing to a degree to realize what this twist had not only done for the narrative back then to now, but how it enabled this style of gameplay so many years later when the industry has seen such a spike in numerous open world titles, how well this actually fits in as its own practically niche title. Now this is what I call with zero shame a onion story. You gradually peel off the layers, revealing more and more about what's going on. Then when you roll through a second, third, fourth, etc. time, the game reveals more about itself that you initially hadn't realized. The gradual uncover of the feud between Andrew Ryan, the mind behind Rapture of escaping from society in exchange for a place where man or woman could carve out their own success, and Frank Fontaine, who rises up from the underground and leads the people who want to resist Ryan, whom they feel have lost himself, is super engaging. Now most of this story is told through audio logs or people chatting to you on your radio, and that's one aspect of the game that I feel hasn't aged as well, because sometimes you'll enter a room and find 3 audio logs all next to each other, including important narrative details. But what these audio logs enable players to do in a very genius way back then that has become really common in our industry now and isn't as special is discover the story for ourselves. Flush out these characters that we don't know much about, such as a McDonough, such as a Diane McClintock, characters who you don't meet in the story but learn so much about through these audio logs, and they're not just there for flavor, they're there to really have a purpose as they consistently appear throughout the entire game. Like I said, there will be some eye-rolling moments where you'll enter a room and you'll find 2 audio logs right next to each other that are from 2 different people, and you just gotta wonder for a sec how exactly it happened. But if you ignore that aspect, which I know can be a little bit difficult, it is a very important narrative cue, but that's one aspect of the game hasn't aged as well. Symbolism and themes are the name of the game in BioShock. Every level is handcrafted to feel truly different from the last. As you go from theaters to apartment complexes, wineries, exploration is consistently fueled by all the eye-catching sights you have on the way to your objective. The symbolism, on the other hand, is usually loaded in the writing and naming of areas. They lean on Greek mythology, so in this instance, the most important people live in Olympus Heights. Makes sense at face value and has a deeper meaning when you think on it. But what I really appreciated about the themes in this game was that they were scattered all throughout, not only in the gameplay but in the narrative as well. And it's still to this day made for an exciting game to explore, where I knew when I was entering a brand new level, I was going to be seeing something brand new, not just recycled assets with a different color from a previous level, and that's what really made me happy about this game. Now enough about symbolism, narrative, writing, let's talk about the gameplay for a little bit. I think it's still very fun, but admittedly I do enjoy Infinite's ability to allow the player to shoot their gun at the same time as using their vigors, or in this case, plasmids. There is a limited amount of gun upgrades scattered throughout the entire game itself that you don't find all too often until the end of it. There are vending machines which would normally seem out of place in this game, but because they fit the environment so well, it makes so much sense. And so this gameplay loop was very satisfying still to this day. And what's even better in my opinion is that BioShock's universe was one of the first where the player would directly interact with something in the environment and would go as they expected. Whether it's melting ice with incinerate, electrocuting enemies in the water with shock, or activating a switch with that same shock, picking up objects with telekinesis, and so on. That aspect has aged like fine wine, making the universe once again not only engaging space for narrative, but for the gameplay too. The atmosphere is the last thing we're going to touch on in this video, because BioShock is dripping with it from the moment you start the game and manages to reel the player in fast. Upon discovering the lighthouse, you see a statue of Andrew Ryan with a quote that really symbolizes a lot of what Rapture stands for, a slideshow describing the city Rapture itself, a man getting butchered by a spider splicer, introduced to plasmids, and you see both a big daddy and a little sister. It throws a lot at you at once, but not in an overwhelming fashion, but in a way that intrigues you. Who's Andrew Ryan? Why is there a statue of him? Oh, Rapture's this really interesting city. You get a pretty concise breakdown of that. But then you get there, and it's not this dream city that it was pitched to be to you in the bathysphere, because you see a man getting brutally murdered right when you arrive. And what are plasmids? How exactly did we get these powers? Like I said, it throws a lot at you, but it's all intriguing, it's all separate, and a lot of it is flushed out as you progress along and explore the world. This atmosphere also ties into sound with its goosebumps-inducing soundtrack faintly playing throughout the dripping of water, insanity-driven chatter of the splicers, and the environmental storytelling littered about. Very often in this title, you will come across an area where you'll see bodies, the objects, and so on that paint a picture in your head of what happened without even telling you. Oh, and can we talk about the voice acting for a second?
Some hired Betty tried to sell me on those fancy Oxford Club ciggies. No thanks. I told her I'm a Nico-Italian man. Always will be. Why? Well, they smoke good and don't cost half a damn. Who cares if the things are made out of seashells and fish eggs?
It's hard to think of any voices that would fit this style of game better. These voices truly sound like they're from the 50s and 60s, and it blows my mind. Now, I did play this on the BioShock collection, and for me, BioShock 1 crashed anytime I brought up my dashboard on the PS4. I don't know why. I couldn't check my trophies or anything, so I had to memorize them and then play if I wanted to invite a friend to a party, anything whatsoever. Yeah, I absolutely could not bring up that home menu unless I planned on shutting the game down, meaning I had to replay large chunks of this game at a time. So do keep that in mind if you're looking into investing in BioShock again or for the first time ever. But overall, I personally feel this game has aged phenomenally in the terms of narrative and gameplay and exploration, and that it's one you should definitely try out if you have yet to play the BioShock franchise. And if you're looking for a replay, there's no better place to go than Rapture itself, as like I said earlier in the video, this was my 6th playthrough of the game, and I'm still enjoying it and still would go back yet again for a 7th adventure. So let me know in the comments down below what games you'd like me to do a 2017 review for next. I have a lot on my list, a lot of really good ideas, but I want to hear what you guys want first. So fire away down below, let me know what you think of BioShock as well, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active, I love you all, peace.